Welcome students to the class of F.Y.B.Sc Microbiology Paper 1 Introduction to Microbial World. Today's topic is Contributions of Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner was born in 1749 and his lifespan ended in 1823. He is well known as the father of immunology. Edward Jenner was born on May 17, 1749 in Berkeley, Gloucestershire. Jenner had a strong interest in sciences and nature, which led him to study medicine, surgery, and even zoology that continued for his life. At the age of 13, he worked with a country surgeon in Sodbury near Bristol. It was there that Jenner heard a dairymaid say, "I shall never have smallpox, for I have had cowpox." In 1770, Jenner moved to St. George's Hospital in London. He completed his medical training under the great surgeon at that time and experimentalist John Hunter. In 1772, that is, at the age of 23, Edward Jenner returned to Berkeley and started his practice as a local practitioner and surgeon. During those days, that is, in the 18th century, in Europe, smallpox was widespread and a number of deaths occurred due to smallpox. The estimated number of deaths every year that occurred due to smallpox was around 4 lakh. Researchers estimated that between 20 to 60% of all the infected persons and 80% of infected children died from the disease. Those who survived from the disease had some degree of permanent scarring. The disease was a leading cause of death at that time. It did not respect any social class. All the classes, whether a high class or a low class, was infected by the disease, and disfigurement, that is scarring, was a common problem in patients who recovered from the infections. Smallpox was not only disfiguring but also a fatal infectious disease. It spread by exposure to the Variolavirus, and infection began like common cold. Initial symptoms that were observed were fever, lethargy, muscle pain, and headaches. After a few days, rash appeared on the face and skin, with sores forming inside the mouth, throat, and the nose. Fluid-filled pustules developed and expanded, covering large areas of the skin. By the third week of infection, if the victim survived, scabs formed and separated from the skin. At that time, the only means of fighting against smallpox was the primitive form of vaccination, which was referred to as variolation, which was intentionally infecting a human who is a healthy person with the matter taken from the patient who is sick with a mild attack of the disease. The technique was referred to as variolation because Variolavirus was the causative agent of smallpox, and by this method you could stop the spread of the disease. The practice of variolation originated in China and India, and it was based on two distinct concepts. First one attack of smallpox effectively protected against any subsequent attack. That means once a person suffers from smallpox, he will never in his life again suffer from the same disease, that is smallpox. And the second concept was person deliberately infected with a mild case of the disease would safely acquire such protection. That is, if you purposefully inject the organism, the virus, in from the infected person in a the healthy person may show a mild disease but would be safe throughout the year and never suffer from the infection of smallpox. In the present day, this technique is referred to as elective infection. That is, the one that is given to a person who is a healthy person or has a good health. But the drawback of this method is, although we are transferring the material from a mildly infected person, the disease may not always remain mild and mortality may occur. The infected person may also act as a source of infection and help in the spread of the infection to a number of people. So, in order to prevent smallpox, cowpox material was tried. Like the other doctors, Edward Jenner practiced variolation to protect his patients from smallpox. However, from the early days of his career, Edward Jenner had been influenced by villagers who said that people who caught cowpox from their cows could not catch smallpox. This and his own experience of variolation as a boy and the risks that accompanied it led Jenner to undertake the most important research of his life. Cowpox is a mild viral infection of cows. It causes a few weeping spots on their udders but little discomfort. Milkmaids occasionally catch the cowpox from cows. Although they developed a small number of pox, usually on the hand, the disease did not trouble the humans or the dairymaids. The history of vaccines begins with the story of smallpox. In May 1796, a dairymaid named Sarah Nelms consulted Jenner about a rash on her hand. Jenner diagnosed the lesion to be cowpox rather than smallpox, and Sarah confirmed that one of her cows had recently had cowpox. Jenner realized that this was his opportunity to test the protective properties of cowpox by giving it to someone who had not yet suffered from smallpox. So Jenner chose Phipps, that is James Phipps, an 8-year-old son of his gardener, and on the 14th of May, Jenner made a few scratches on the arm of James and rubbed the material of cowpox from Sarah's hand. A few days later, James became mildly ill with cowpox but recovered very soon. So, Jenner again took the cowpox lesion from Sarah Nelm and injected it or rubbed it again on the hand of Phipps. This time, no symptoms were shown of the disease by James Phipps. So, The next step was to test whether the cowpox would now protect James from smallpox. So, on the 1st of July, Jenner variolated the boy, this time with the matter of smallpox. And as Jenner had anticipated, and to his great relief, James did not show any symptoms of the disease. That means protection was complete. This experiment of injecting the smallpox material in James Phipps continued for many times, and every time the immunity was tested, and James did not suffer from the smallpox infection. So Jenner called this material as the vaccine because the Latin word for cow is vaxa, and because he developed it from cowpox, he called the material as a vaccine, and this new procedure was now referred to as vaccination. Later, in 1797, Jenner sent a short communication to the Royal Society describing his experiment and observations. But his paper was rejected. Although his paper was rejected, Jenner did not stop there. In 1798, he added certain more cases of smallpox and published a book with the name An Enquiry into the Causes and Effects of Variola Vaccine. His publication was not immediately accepted and did not get good reactions immediately. But Jenner did not stop. He went to London and started searching for volunteers for vaccination. But his stay of 3 months in London was not successful. In London, vaccination became popular through the activities of other doctors or surgeons, particularly Surgeon Henry Klein, to whom Jenner had given some of the inoculant, and the doctors George Pearson and William Woodwell. Difficulties arose in the process of vaccination. Some of them were quite unpleasant. Edward Jenner had given the material to doctors Pearson and Woodwell, where Pearson tried to take the credit away from Jenner, saying that it was Pearson's own creation. While Woodwell, who was a physician in a smallpox hospital, he contaminated the cowpox matter given by Edward Jenner with the matter with smallpox virus. So, vaccination rapidly proved its value, and Jenner became intensely active promoting the process of vaccination. The procedure spread rapidly to America and the rest of Europe and soon was carried out around the world. Jenner conducted a nationwide survey in search of proof of resistance to smallpox or to variolation among persons who had cowpox. The results of his survey confirmed his theory. The extraordinary value of vaccination was publicly acknowledged in England when, in 1802, the British Parliament granted Edward Jenner a sum of £10,000. 5 years later, the Parliament awarded Jenner with £20,000. He received a number of honors and also found himself subjected to attacks and was laughed at. Despite all this, he continued his activities on behalf of the vaccination program. Gradually, vaccination replaced by variolation, which became prohibited in England in 1840. Edward Jenner died during the early morning hours of Sunday, January 26 in 1823. Complications in the process of vaccination were many. Vaccination seemed simple, but the vast number of persons who practiced it did not follow the procedure that Jenner had recommended. They deliberately or unconsciously tried to innovate the process of vaccination, which impaired the effectiveness of the vaccine. Pure cowpox vaccine was not always easy to obtain, nor was it easy to preserve or transmit the virus. The biological factors that produced immunity were not well understood, and much information had to be gathered and many mistakes made before the fully effective procedure could be developed. And because of his development of the cowpox vaccine against the smallpox disease in humans, Jenner was given the title of Father of Immunology. Thank you.